What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Unscheduled CEO. The Unscheduled CEO. What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday, the 10th of February, 2026. It's early morning, 8:55 a.m. A fucking early dog over here. Oof. School starts in Germany way too early. My daughter starts school at fucking 7:45. Who the fuck needs to be up at 7:45? Alright, I need to change my headphones. I can't hear myself properly, so we're gonna have to listen to this for a bit. We're also on the first coffee of the day, so maybe you're gonna get to see a live transition between waking up and then caffeinated Jonathan. Very exciting. All right. Welcome back to the Unscheduled CEO podcast. While I'm recording, this is like we've reached our update to ready to keep going with the quiz, blah, blah. Okay. The funny thing right now is that in the background, I've got a Claude code window open. So, terminal window, basically one of the AI tools. And I'm working on a new lead magnet, which I'm actually pretty proud of. Maybe I can show you guys what I'm working on here. This AI stuff, I mean, it really went from interesting, I'm worried about it, last year, to, okay, I'm kind of bored. I don't know. I don't really care about like the writing stuff, and to now. And by the way, any of you guys who are like triggered by me talking about AI stuff, just fucking turn the podcast off. Because I'm going to talk about it. So yeah, so what I'm working on right now is something that would have taken me, I guess, I just wouldn't have done it. Like the complexity means I would just not have done it. I'm just going to try to show you by opening it up on my screen. If you're not on YouTube, don't worry. I'll describe what I'm talking about here. So this is something I wanted to make a long time ago, but just like the complexity of putting it together and having to have a developer work on it and then going back and forth. As you know, I tend to lose interest in projects too quickly to go back and forth with a designer and developer to figure this out. But the cool thing is, I was able to just make this yesterday. So what you're looking at right now, or if you're just listening, is a simple quiz on how a facilitator can find their day rate. Like the optimal day rate, like how much they should charge. So I run a company called facilitator.com for those of you who don't know. And one of the things I want to create here is a new lead magnet, a way to collect email addresses while also giving some value. And also sending people to different facilitator.com products. And so what you're seeing on screen right now is a very simple looking page, which is like, hey, what should you charge as a facilitator? A button that says find my rate with a fun glowy effect, which I'm just having fun making. And what you can see is the data sources that are connected to it. So this comes from our own data, 35,000 people trained over the last 15 years, shit tons of surveys, insane amounts of like 300 or 400 or 500 hours worth of transcripts of us talking about day rates and stuff. And then we, of course, pull from Session Lab. They do this great state of facilitation thing. They have actually a lot of different price relating stuff on their website. And of course, we pull from like any other open content about this on the web. So the basic idea is you go through and you do the test. I'll just like quickly blast through it. So you do the survey. It's actually quite detailed. Like initially I was like, oh, it's a 3-question survey, but then, you know, to show the thing at the end that I want to show, like to show the actual results, I needed a lot more. So I just need people to answer quite a few questions. Then they enter their email address. Let's just put bob@ff.com. Oh, that's the name, whatever. So, and then you agree to be part of the facilitator.com email list. I actually have to change that to ajainsmart.com. Then you view the results, and then it does this little calculation thing, which, just for transparency's sake, it doesn't need to do this. I just thought it would be more like, it would make it, because it was so fast, it didn't feel like it was actually doing anything. And so I wanted to have an animation that made it feel like it was doing something a little bit more, or struggling a little bit more, and showing you again all the data sources that it was using. And so you can see here that the day rate based on my questions is around $5,000 to $10,000 per day. You can see like half-day session. You can see team offsite pricing. You can see like my biggest opportunity here would be that because of the way I answer the questions, facilitation is a side skill. So you can see focus is low, where I have room to grow. My pricing is not, I don't do any training. And then you can see here at the very bottom that it brings you to an AJ and Smart product that would be relevant for your level. So I would say, and the interesting thing here is, so if you're looking at this quiz, if you don't know how expensive it is to make stuff, I'm going to go back to, like, let's talk about how that would have been pre-Claude code. So you might be looking at this and you might say, yeah, I could have done that in Typeform. Typeform is a survey tool. First of all, probably not. Just the amount of complexity that's going into the pulling the data sources from all these separate places, from shit tons of PDFs and transcripts and all of that. So just even the data, like correlation and collection, and then having Claude figure out how to weight the certain questions itself. I didn't have to like come up with, should this be a multiple choice? Should it, like, it came up with the questions itself. It did almost every single thing itself, and then I directed it. So my job was, hey, we're going to do this survey. I wanted to have like this end page, which also gets emailed to people. I wanted to connect to my ConvertKit account. And then Claude essentially walked me through that. And then, we designed it together. I wanted the visual design to be a certain way, matching with facilitator.com. So how this would have worked in the past. Again, I don't mean this in a shitty way. This podcast, if you're new to it and you're seeing it somehow in your YouTube feed, this isn't like, I'm not here to make something super entertaining. If you don't like the AI stuff, if you hate it, if you're against it, if you think it all sucks, if you're like a very cynical person in general, you're not going to like this podcast, because I'm excitable. I get excited about stuff, and I don't want to be caveating myself the whole time saying, oh, I know this. Just if you're the type of person who's very cynical about AI, just turn this episode off now to save yourself from being annoyed, because you're not going to get the caveats. You're not going to get the like balanced commentary from me about anything. I am not here to do anything other than just talk about what I'm excited about. Okay, so I understand if it's not your thing, and I understand that there's the negative implications of AI. I know all these things. Other people are talking about that stuff, right? I don't feel like talking about that stuff. So I just want to give you one last opportunity just so I can talk about this the way I want to. Again, this topic, guys, like for those of you listening and being like, why would he be so careful about this? The messages I get when I talk about AI are fucking crazy. People are insane about this stuff. Like, and I have friends who also obviously make content about AI, and I see the kind of threats they get and all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I need to, this is like a hot topic in a way that it like makes people very angry. Like it's almost like a political topic. And I understand I have to like I'm not fucking kidding right now. Like the stuff I want to talk about right now is I question whether I will talk about it. I question whether or not it's a good idea for me to have recordings of me saying this stuff, because I do think there's going to be massive disruption. I do think there's going to be a lot of probably very angry people, very resentful, not angry at me or resentful at me, but resentful about the fact that this tool has replaced a lot of what they do. And I really understand that. And my goal with this podcast is also, I guess, to help myself and you guys navigate that world that's coming up. I just want to be realistic about it. But at least for now, I'll continue saying what I think about it. I'm not saying everything, just to be 100% transparent. I'm not saying everything. Like in a one-on-one conversation, not recorded, I have more to say. But what I'm willing to put out here is already like risky for me to say. So how would this have been before? How would it have been for me to make that quiz before? Well, first of all, I would see a quiz funnel somewhere, and I'd have this has happened, by the way. I'll have the idea. I'm like, fuck, you know what? Let's do a quick quiz funnel. Then I'll start kind of working on it myself, and I'll get a bit bored because working on my own makes me bored. So I'll pull the team together, the AJ and Smart team. So we'll sit around, maybe do a little workshop, which is a great way to just get at the ideas out of everybody. And maybe after 2 or 3 hours, we'd figure out this whole thing, like all the questions we should ask. How do we weight the questions? What are the different avatars at the end? And which products should we send these particular avatars to? We'd have to even think about that. That would even maybe only come up later. It's like, what if we actually also send people to the products? And it's like, oh yeah, then we just need to categorize all the products. And then we need to figure out where we would send people. And then which funnel do they go to next? And how do we do the email stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Then we would probably need to do a bit of a technical analysis and think about how are we going to build it. So maybe we first start building it in Typeform and realize there's a lot of custom elements. And so we realize actually we need to move from Typeform to making something more custom, and maybe we need to bring a developer in. But before we bring a developer in, it would make sense to have a prototype. And so we need to design a prototype. And so we would kind of go back and forth, which understandable because that's how it works, go back and forth on the visual design. Maybe you're doing a design sprint to get this quiz done. We've done design sprints with clients for things much less complicated than this. And so let's say it takes a full week to get the visual and the concept and the whole thing working as a prototype, and then we would hand it over to a developer, or we could even develop it in-house. But at a minimum, that's going to take another week. And by then, obviously, I'm kind of on other projects, and I've lost the excitement about that. That's fine. It's being worked on, and that's why you have a team. But then, of course, the developer gives us the product, and the designer doesn't feel like it's lining up so well with what the design was. And so we do a few more rounds of feedback, and then we realize, it's not really working so well on mobile, but the developer, needs another few days to work on that. And I would say what I'm looking at right now, this quiz, pre-AI, pre-vibe coding, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, for me, pre-2026, because Claude Code 4.6 just kind of dramatically changed the quality. I think it would have taken us I would have given I would have made this into a 6-week project. I'm getting a phone call from my dentist. I cannot answer that. I hope that hasn't messed up my audio. Remind me in 1 hour. Okay, so it would have taken about 6 weeks, and by the time we would have gotten to the end of it, it would have been so far from my vision. Again, not because anyone sucks at their job or not because people are not able to do this. It's just because it's hard to, and I'm probably not good at this. It's hard to like keep the clarity of the vision like intact when it's outside of your head and mixing with other people. And also that also makes it better in many ways, but it would have still taken 6 weeks. The effect of that is that I'm way less likely and way like the consequences of me starting a project like that are very high. 6 weeks of multiple people's time. How much would it have cost? So I'm not going to tell you people's salary, but let's just like do like an average, like think about the average salaries. You know, let's just kind of say everyone is getting something like, or let's say it costs AJ and Smart approximately $5,000 per person. And so because you have salary, you have health insurance, you have all these different types of insurances at AJ and Smart, plus you have the software for everybody, all the normal stuff. So people, let's say there's like, I would put a small team working on that. And again, they're not working on every single day, but realistically, you know, Parkinson's law, what is it like? Work expands to fill the time given to it. And even though people would have been on other things, they would have been, let's say, half of the time working on this. Let's say three people plus me checking in and out. Let's just keep it conservative. And say it was around 6 weeks. Let's say 3.5 people were working on it. So we've got, sorry. Why isn't this working? I'm trying to do some math here. So you got like around 20,000 euro working, 20,000 euro worth of company time to create that quiz. And I know this again, if you don't run a company, you might be rolling your eyes and thinking this is stupid. But again, this is just the reality of running a business, right? If you're making, and that's fine as well, because as long as we're making more money than that, it doesn't matter, right? So you're looking at around 6 weeks of time working on this thing, maybe about 20,000 euro worth of employee time. Again, this is just the way that, or this is just what it costs to run a business. Honestly, I'm probably like if Kyle was on this call, he probably would be like, yeah, it's a lot more than that because we've got this cost and this cost and this cost associated with all of this, the whatever. And then we're 20,000 euro in because we've built a completely custom piece of software. And then we get the thing out and then I'm like, I'm going to be very careful, like, because this particular thing doesn't instantly make money. I'm going to just be more careful about trying experiments like that within AJ and Smart. And this is how a lot of people think running businesses. Now, the difference with Claude Code is yesterday, this is the thing that happened, right? Yesterday, I needed a quick lead magnet to be created. And this, like, lead magnet being a couple of page PDF that's very throwaway for a very small experiment that I just wanted to see. And I decided I'm going to like have Claude brief someone on Fiverr because I just wanted to test that to create this thing. So there was like, two humans in the loop, me and that person. By the way, I'm very happy to pay people to do stuff. And sometimes I think it's better to actually hire someone to do something than trying to do it with AI. For example, me making this PDF, again, it's such a low stakes thing, but me trying to do that with AI or with a really good designer wouldn't make any sense. Like, Tim, who's done a lot of stuff for AJ and Smart, who's an amazing designer, getting a brief to do like a 6-page PDF, it just doesn't make sense, right? It's too, he does much crazier projects than that. And so I just went down to Fiverr. I just like searched best person for doing like this type of PDF design. Sent him the brief, extremely detailed. And it said like it will come back in 4 days. And yesterday I got the message that it was done. And at the same time, so I got the check mark that it was done. The money came out of our account, so it paid the guy. And he sent me so I clicked to download the thing and there was nothing there. And I looked and he sent me a message saying, oh yeah, like in my InDesign is broken and I have to contact Adobe. The end. I haven't heard from him again. So he took the money, sent me nothing, and has stopped contacting me. So basically, I think I got scammed using Fiverr, which is interesting. Of course, like Fiverr are dealing with it now because they can look at the messages, all that kind of stuff. But so immediately I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is not much better, right? Just because I can brief someone doesn't mean I'm making the process quicker. But what I thought to myself was, wait a minute, what if I'm thinking about this wrong? What if I should do stuff that doesn't require, what if I should be using these tools, especially for these experiments, that doesn't require more people than me and the AI? And my first thought in this case was, I'll make a fucking quiz, because I've been wanting to make this quiz thing for a long time. I'm a designer. I can do web design. And so myself and Claude can create this quiz. And so while I'm now waiting for this maybe person who scammed me to either give me the money back or actually do the project, I still can't tell. Fiverr haven't replied. So basically from about 8 p.m. till 10 p.m. last night, that was when I got the message from the guy. I made this entire quiz and I've decided actually this is a much better lead magnet than the one I was going to do in the first place. So the lead magnet I was going to do was like facilitator pricing guide PDF using the same data that I'd collected, that Claude had collected. And the quiz is just a much better way of doing that. And if the guy ever sends me the lead magnet, I'll just like use that as well. But for the experiment, the quiz is already better. So for me, in this case, the thing that would have taken 6 weeks and 20,000 euro. And by the way, because again, I'm not a developer. So to be honest, it wouldn't have been like, even with a developer, it wouldn't have been as good as what I created yesterday, just because it's much better than we would have been able to create. We were never particularly good at AJ and Smart at making kind of software-y stuff. And so I just want to see if I can figure out how much that cost last night. Usage, let's go to usage. Okay, so I think I probably spent about 2.5 hours of my time. Just that's an important thing to calculate. And I will still need to work with Ryan, who works at AJ and Smart, for around 30 minutes to make sure I haven't fucked something up with the ConvertKit connector. But I think I spent around €6 on that. Looking at my usage, I think I spent about €6. Let's see how many tokens I've used on this project. How many tokens have I used to create this quiz so far? How much have I spent money-wise? But I'm looking at my usage here. and I think it's like less than €5. So maybe this gives you a feeling for what I'm talking about. There's multiple elements to this. In terminal run cost. Oh yeah, okay. Cost. Cost. Fuck, no. No, cost. Here we go. Sorry guys, I'm using Claude code in the background. All right, whatever. I have used 8%. Okay, what it's trying, because I'm using Claude Max, and I used 8% of my usage yesterday. I also tried, or no, not 8%, 7%. And I did a lot of other stuff with Claude yesterday. And I also tested out Claude Fast. I don't know if you guys know about Claude Fast, but it is basically fast mode for Claude Code, and it's way more expensive. So I actually used that to create the first version of the quiz, just so I could have a very quick attempt at it. And then I moved to the normal speed Claude. So yeah, let's just say for argument's sake, €10, right? So €10 I spent on creating this quiz yesterday, which would have, and it took me 3 hours. And I think it will be online by end of tomorrow, let's say. So I had the idea yesterday out of frustration just because of the Fiverr situation. And today's Tuesday. It's done. I'm very happy with it now. I'm probably going to post it in our school community just to have real people test it, maybe by the end of today. And then tomorrow, it's going to go live on the website, and it will be collecting email addresses tomorrow or Thursday. So we've gone from 6 weeks and a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy, and not something I want to really do a lot of mental. It's not like a creative project. That's the thing. I was always like, oh, fuck, I'm not in the mood to do a whole thing about making a lead magnet. But you kind of have to, right? That was just kind of the way. And now it's myself and Claude, 2.5 to 3 hours, but maybe in total to get the whole thing online, everything working perfectly, maybe we're looking at like 5 hours in total. Under €10 versus €20,000. This is a huge, huge, crazy deal. And I think that I do understand why, if you're not running a business, you don't understand the implications, because I think a lot of people, so when I'm telling friends about AI stuff and they're like, but it doesn't work, or it's not perfect, or it's all hype, or it makes mistakes. I'm like, people also make mistakes, right? I mean, like this Fiverr guy has literally just disappeared from the face of Earth, and I bet he's going to turn up and say, "Oh, sorry, I had a family emergency." You know what I mean? This guy, I know what he did. He clicked this button to say it was done, so that his like average time for completing projects is earlier. He got the money earlier. But this is like, humans also make mistakes. The difference is that Claude is sort of, for a lot of things, especially software related, but also as a sparring partner, these AI tools are insane, like unimaginably more powerful than what we've had access to before. Like the empowerment to and I've been reading about this as well. If you're like a fucking chaotic ADHD entrepreneur who's bad at managing people and doesn't do well when projects go on too long, and likes to make stuff but doesn't enjoy trying to get that out of their head in a way that's easy for other people to understand, these tools are intoxicating, because the loop is so short between idea and reality. And I've I've since I started using Claude Code maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe it's 4 weeks ago, I've made more stuff and like created more things for my businesses that are, well, you need to give me a few more months and I can tell you whether it actually is really affecting revenue. But these are projects like very basic things that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. They're nothing fancy. Like I just showed you a quiz to capture email addresses. I've made more in this month than I would say I usually would do in 6 months. If you have a team, the implications of this and what I'm doing with my team is, I decided not to tell everybody they have to use Claude Code. What I decided to do was just use it myself obsessively. And then Laura started using it obsessively. Then Kyle saw me using it and he got into it. He's our bookkeeper. So he started using it. Then yesterday, Ellie asked me for a subscription. And so I think everyone at AJ and Smart, we're now going to move from like my private account to the enterprise version where everybody can have a subscription. And what I've been saying for a very long time is that it essentially means that one employee is now 5 employees. So Ellie using this, so Ellie is our YouTube man and videographer. Ellie using Claude and Claude Code, whatever, essentially becomes a content team versus one person. I become a leadership team instead of just one person. And Ryan becomes a support and tech team instead of one person. You get the point. So yeah, this is, again, I keep saying this, it's not right now about efficiency with these tools. Like efficiency is interesting, but that's not necessarily the goal. The goal for me is being able to create more, do more, get the things out of my head more. And I guess it's kind of like it's the productivity levels, I guess, are just 10x or 100x the I mean, from 6 weeks to 3 hours. This is not a small thing. This is not like, oh, now I got this new tool and it's easier to manage projects. No, this is like 6 weeks, 3 people is now down to 3 hours, 1 person. And that's insane. And it's not been a slow transition at AJ and Smart. It's been like from me knowing Claude Code, or from me not knowing how to use Claude Code to me knowing how to use Claude Code. Again, I still think there's a lot of, I don't want to do the caveats. You know what? If you, again, like I said, I was just about to do a caveat and say, yeah, I know that there's a lot of people who just get stuck using the tools and then they don't make anything, blah, blah, blah. But this is just one of these caveats for the people who want to complain about it. I'm not doing a caveat. So yeah, this has been completely like, I think it's, yeah, and I've heard a couple of other CEOs saying this. It's been the biggest change to my work ever. Like ever, there's no comparison in my lifetime. Also the most sudden change in the way I work and the way I do things and the way I run my business. Most violent change. And the thing is, like, honestly, like in a way, I'm conflicted with this one because I know that, potential competitors listen to this podcast. And I don't mean my friendly competitors like Pipdex and Chad and D. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about I mean people who would actually really like to have our audience. I kind of in a way, I kind of in a way wish they didn't know about this stuff. I do think the advantage that I have and a couple of people have is that I'm obsessed with it. And that it is like one of those things where I can't stop. I'm like, I don't want to play video games. I don't want to do other things. I just want to use this tool. And I've seen that for a lot of, and that's the same feeling you get when you start a business in the beginning. It's like, oh my God, I can make anything. So yeah, I do think that there are going to be, like, when everybody is able to use these things, I have a few ideas of what the only way to have advantages are. And I'll talk to you about those right after this short break. All right, I'm back. So, like, what are the ways to, like, or in my opinion, what are the things that I'm going to be thinking of? So I do think that I think there'll be like, I don't think everything will be distributed evenly. Like, I don't, okay, so I told you a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, I ran a webinar with Charles from PipDex. A lot of you guys were on it. There was, I don't know, can't remember, 3,000 something people on this webinar. And my goal was just to excitedly show people this Claude Code thing, and also pitch a 3-day learning event that people could join, which ended on Friday. And I thought, oh my God, like, this is the craziest thing I've ever, like, this tool is the craziest thing I've ever experienced as an entrepreneur. And I had been using it wrong, essentially, and Charles showed me how to use it, and it completely blew my mind. And I thought when I would show people what I had seen, that unanimously every person would be like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. I need to know it right now. But the reality is, most people are not that interested in learning new things. And most people resist that kind of change. And most people get, like, locked into whatever the media is telling them, like, or whatever their friends are telling them. This stuff doesn't work. It's not that good. And so, looking at the chat, I think at least 20% of the people were just like, oh yeah, like, this ChatGPT, like, this is just ChatGPT, or like, as soon as it got too technical, people were like, oh, I don't know how to use this. This sucks. This makes no sense. And for me, when I see something I don't understand, like, for example, when Charles was showing me how to use Claude Code, I was like, I do not have a clue how to do any of this stuff, but I need to know. Like, I get this rabid, like, obsessive feeling that I need to learn something if I feel like there's potential. And so that is just clearly one of the things that, if you are like this already, if you're someone who just sees this stuff and you're like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, if you saw what I just showed you and you listened to what I just told you and understand the implications of that for you, like how cool that could be, you're already on that sort of train of being a very adaptable person for where this is going. Because where this is going, like, this is now that I've seen this, I can't have it any other way, right? I can't work in another way. Like, someone told me the other day, it was like, oh, the EU is going to ban AI coding. And I was like, then I'm leaving the EU, because that would be ridiculous. There would be no way to ever be part of the economy again if they would do that, right? I would have to leave and move to the US. The end, that's it. Or whatever European country doesn't agree with it and just doesn't go along with it. Because that would be the same thing as saying to me 7 years ago or 15 years ago, you're not allowed to start a business, or you're not allowed to hire people. You're not allowed to use a computer at work. So yeah, the first kind of mindset here is like, the average person is going to be very, very skeptical about these tools. And if you're German listening to this, and you are on any of these calls, I see it on Twitter as well. I think it's mainly Germans who are doing this. It's like, oh yes, but what about the security implications? Yeah, that is a conversation to have. It's a very important conversation to have. That's not what we're talking about right now. Like you can bring your pet project of Datenschutz and security and fucking cookies into a different conversation. If you're the person who wants to push for that, that's great. We want that. But if you're unable to understand the usefulness of the tools just because you have your thing around security, then you probably are going to struggle here a lot. I know this just because when we were doing that Claude code thing and we were showing how this works, the people with German names. By the way, guys, I live in Germany. I love Germany. My fucking daughter is German. It's just not known to be a country that's very innovative anymore. So and in general, Europe is out of the picture with all this AI stuff. But yeah, it was for me when someone told me that the European Union wants to like ban AI coding. I was like, yeah, that's the first thing I've heard. I've heard a lot of stupid things, but that's the first thing I've heard where I'm like, okay, then I would leave. Because yeah, I want to I get a lot of pleasure from making things. It's fun for me to be able to make things. And now I've finally found the perfect sparring partner for me who never gets tired, who's never, irritated by all of my constant stream of ideas, and can actually make the things as well. It's crazy. Not to say that there's not amazing humans then doing the work as well at AJ and Smart. Like right now, so I've been, we have this workshopper.com blog since about 7 years, and we've been slowly porting it over to facilitator.com. And I've been working with Claude to create some content ideas for YouTube, but also for the blog. But then Laura is actually writing them as a human to make them 1,000 times better, because otherwise they would just suck. But the element of being able to coordinate the entire project using Claude has meant that this is happening. Otherwise, it just wouldn't have happened. So yeah, the first thing is really just, I think you'll struggle as an entrepreneur. Again, this podcast is for entrepreneurs. It's called The Unscheduled CEO. You're going, or aspiring entrepreneurs, I guess. And it pisses everyone else off, basically. But if you're excited about this, if you see the possibilities of it, if you're not just in cynical mode, which again is easy mode. I've said this a million times before. Being pessimistic and cynical is the default for the majority of people you will meet. And so if you just want to be fitting in really nicely with everybody else, just the next time someone mentions AI, just say, "Oh, it sucks," blah blah blah, and then you'll 99% of the time have a good conversation because they will agree with you. So the next thing I think is reliability. The first thing is whatever that word is, right? Being excited and being optimistic about it while understanding the risks, of course. Like there's this thing called Clawbot out there. It's called OpenClaw right now. And I'm not using it actually because of security reasons. And so there is a limit. It's just that I don't go out there as my main fucking personality talking about this, about how, oh yes, but what if, that's just something that I do, right? Like taking the precautions. So the next thing, reliability, I didn't even say what the first thing was. I guess the first thing is optimism. Generally as a personality trait, like cultivating this sense of optimism, because the first thing is generally people, if you want to run a company, people don't really want to follow. Well, first of all, you can't be a pessimist, because to run a company, you have to have this slightly delusional optimism that you can create a thing and it's going to work, even though it's probably existed before, right? So AJ and Smart, there were design agencies already all over Berlin, and we were like, we can make one that also will be successful. You have to be optimistic for that. You can't be cynical. You can't be pessimistic. It just doesn't. It just doesn't exist. I have never met an entrepreneur where their business is making more than $1 million. I don't know, but that threshold is for me a nice place to understand. Has the person had to like do this kind of thing, and do they have product market fit, and have they scaled things a little bit? I've never met a person who's running a 7-figure company who's extremely pessimistic and negative all the time. Generally, they're excitable. Generally, they're optimistic. The second thing is, generally, they're reliable. So reliability, I think, is one of the most underrated skills anyone can have. The problem is you usually don't realize when you're unreliable, even though people will hint at it. Generally, you don't know. So unreliable, like I've worked in corporates. I've had unreliable colleagues, and unreliable is something as simple as you get a reputation for being unreliable very, very, very quickly. It's just something like, let's say someone was supposed to do a presentation, and then the day of the presentation, they're sick, right? Like just something like that, that happens once, and you're like, oh, that's a really unfortunate coincidence that they're sick on the day where we're supposed to do this presentation together. So now that's all on me. Or you're flying somewhere to a client, and your, again, it could be colleague, whatever, misses the flight because it's the first time ever that their phone ran out of battery and they didn't plug it in, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so now you're like, oh, okay, that's 2 things that this person has not been reliable for. And they think that you're seeing these things as individual, isolated events. But you, if you're running a business, or if you're just trying to live your life, or you're trying to work at a company, you start automatically picking up the slack for them and assuming that they're not reliable. And what starts to happen is you stop sort of including them in stuff. That's actually the slow, unfortunate issue about being unreliable, is that most people don't want to tell you, or even if they do tell you, they know that they're not going to get anywhere with it. I've obviously had to tell people many times, hey, this is making me feel like you're unreliable. And then they'll say, yeah, well, this time I had a migraine. This time my phone was out of battery. This time, there was building happening behind my house and I couldn't sleep, so I couldn't wake up the next day. And then this time, they have everything is an isolated incident, and they don't understand that that's not happening to anybody else. The thing that happens is not that people get angry at you, because most people I know, most entrepreneurs I know, and most people working at companies, no one wants to have a fight. Nobody wants to, like for example, this guy now who has, on the very first time working together, told me he's delivered the thing, not delivered anything, then separately messaged me saying his InDesign software is not working, and then has stopped messaging me. It's more, first of all, I'm not going to have a fight with him, right? I'm not going to send a very angry message for many reasons. Number one, I just don't like to have conflict. Number two, I don't want him to screenshot it and say I'm an asshole. So what will happen is I'm going to pay him, and I'm just not going to work with him again. And that will be it, right? And then that slowly starts to happen in all parts. And of course, I'm not going to recommend this guy. And so you just start to lose that momentum, right? If he had delivered, or even if he had just been more realistic and said it will take 5 days instead of 3, if he had delivered and it was good, then of course I would have used him more often and then also recommended him to more people. But because he was unreliable, it immediately, I get it's like the first in my mind, I'm like, oh fuck, okay, I can't rely on this guy. And so no matter how good AI gets, you being someone that someone can rely on all the time. And this is the important thing with reliability. It has to be all the time. And the 1 or 2 times you fuck up, let's say you miss a meeting with like you forget to join a Zoom call, or you have to cancel stuff because of being sick. These things, of course, they happen in real life to me as well. You really need to be ahead of it, and you need to understand that. Like, for example, I've been doing coaching calls in one of our communities for 5 years. And even though I do less of them now, I can count the amount of them that I've personally had to cancel because of sickness. Maybe I've canceled 4 because of sickness in 5 years. And every other one was like a planned cancel or planned like pause because of vacation or something. And this is because, and then there's other places where I like allow myself to be somewhat messy. For example, getting back to people, text messaging, all that kind of stuff. What I generally do is I tell people, hey, this is just not going to be you'll be waiting a long time. I'm sorry in advance, but actually I'm reliably unreliable there. But yeah, I try to be in people's heads. I want them to know if I say I'm going to be somewhere and do something, that this will happen every single time. And if it's not going to happen, they'll get a crazy amount of warning. And if I fuck up, the amount of apologizing and the amount of like making up for it will be over the top, like absolutely over the top. I remember, last year, I had gotten this new therapist, and for whatever reason, on the second week, I missed my fucking slot because I thought it was on Tuesday, but it was on Wednesdays, and she called me. And I nearly fucking died. Like, I felt so unbelievably bad. And instead of making excuses, what I always do in these situations is I just tell the truth. I just said, look, I fully forgot it was today. I'm really sorry about this. Obviously, you charge me. There's no question about that. I'm an idiot. This won't happen again. And I was like, God damn it, I can't believe that I did this. And so reliability, even though you might not think that it's an important element, it's extremely, extremely, extremely important. It's like, when I go on Greg Eisenberg's podcast, like there's a lot of elements in my life where even if I would drop the ball once, it could create, I guess you can probably drop the ball twice with someone before they lock it into their mind that you're unreliable. And then it takes a long period of being reliable to get out of it. But like going on Greg's podcast, I've never missed our session. I've never been late for it. And if I ever even think I might be 15 minutes late, I'm messaging like an hour and a half beforehand, because and by the way, other people are late for me when they jump onto calls and stuff. That's fine. I don't care. They like that. They're building their own thing. Then I mark them as someone who's usually late or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But I just have this obsession with, if I say I'm going to be reliable on something, being reliable on something. And again, there are places where I think it's okay to let people know that this is just not where you're going to be reliable. That's in itself reliable. For me, again, that's messaging people, that's emailing people, that is DMing people. It's just not, it just doesn't, it's just not something that I strive to be good at. And I constantly tell people this. So being reliable and being and within that is being very consistent, just being someone who's just 100% reliable and never lets people down. And I don't mean like your quality of work is bad, but just that you're not, randomly taking, let's say you're doing a project for somebody, let's say or even if you're the boss, just randomly taking sick days. And by the way, be sick. Just don't do it in this kind of unpredictable, it just happens to be on the day where this thing is supposed to happen. And, this kind of thing, it really builds up. It really, really builds up. And I think it's very obvious to everyone around, but not obvious to you. Like the bar on reliability is extremely high. Like the expectations on reliability are way higher than most people think. Like you think that people aren't putting a little check in their mind when you miss something, or when I actually sent it to the wrong email address and I didn't know. And, it's one mistake here and there is okay. But this reliability thing, missing flights, forgetting to turn up to things, that kind of stuff, even as a friend, like this is total. And it doesn't mean you'll have a bad life if you're unreliable. It's just you have to understand the implications of that. And so, yesterday I realized, like, honestly, and Laura and I were thinking about this, we'd rather work with someone who's extremely reliable and consistent, but like a 7 out of 10 in terms of skills, or a 6 out of 10 in terms of skills, than a 10 out of 10 skills person who is only reliable 70 to 80% of the time. We've always made that choice. We've always made the choice to not like really have people who are unreliable working on anything very important. For example, like, okay, we've got this huge retreat coming up, this creative retreat called Area X. If you haven't heard about it, it's on alreadythere.com. It's sold out. It's a big operation. I guess like the amount of people involved in total is like 42 people. It is an expensive operation. It's like going to cost AJ and Smart about 80 to 90,000 euro. There's a lot of expectations, et cetera, et cetera. If you think I'm going to put someone on that project who is unreliable, like I would pick, like, it's one of the most important things when you're doing something like that is someone who's reliable, because, and it's really hard for people to understand this element, but like, for example, I have never missed a client. Like, I've never canceled a client workshop because I've been sick. Actually, this is not true. When I was in Florida 3 years ago, I was on my way to a free taster session with a bank in New York. Just to be clear, it wasn't a paid thing. And I had a 42-degree fever and I couldn't look at my laptop. And it was so bad, I literally had to stay in Florida in the hotel. I was so fucking sick. And I was supposed to fly to New York, and I gave them like a 3-day warning saying, it's so bad right now. I don't think it's realistic. I also think I could get you guys sick. But if they had said, well, we'd still like you to do it, I would have still done it. So this is just like that one sticks out in my head. But the fact that I've been running AJ and Smart for 15 years, I do get sick. I have a child. I have so much shit going on in my life. I have loads of days where I'm tired. There's loads of days where I don't want to do stuff. Like this podcast, right? Like I've been up since 6:30 in the morning, bringing my daughter to school. There's a lot going on in AJ and Smart. We've got this fucking crazy retreat coming up. I've got a lot of stuff going on, fucking doctor's appointments, all of that shit. But I have this feeling that being consistent, being reliable is so unbelievably important, because I sense how it is from the other side when someone isn't. That I'm willing to like, yeah, again, like 15 years. And I've never missed an event that I've run. I've never missed a client gig. I'm always there, even if I'm dying sick. I'll tell them, hey, just letting you know. I don't want to infect people or something, but this is such a different mindset to the average population. And I think it's fine. You don't have to be this dedicated and this reliable. You don't have to be. It's not like, why bother? Honestly, it's just that I want to be perceived like that, because I want to be given bigger and bigger things to do. The more reliable and the more consistent you are, the more responsibility you are given. And the less reliable you are, the less responsibility you are given. Like, it's just, and it's one of the biggest challenges that I've noticed for a very large percentage of the people who I've worked with in my life. And I'm not specifically talking about me being the boss of AJ and Smart. Keep in mind, I've also worked at companies. I've also been embedded at companies. And yeah, it's one of those things where you see it happening. It's like in college, it's like the person on the college project who just keeps not turning up. By the way, I was a fucking disaster in college. This is a whole separate thing. It's like the person who just doesn't do any of the stuff that they're given, and then everyone else is kind of like, let's just do it ourselves. And it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the less reliable you are, the less you stick to what you say you're going to do, the further away your words are from your actions on a regular basis, the less people will give you to do. And the more you're going to be like, why am I not being given all these things? And why is it being given to someone else? This is not fair. This is something I've observed really quite a lot in my life, that people start like, I don't know, sometimes people will tell me, again, I'm not talking about AJ and Smart employees. People will tell me like that their boss like has just sort of stopped giving them stuff, or like other people are getting promoted and I then know the person. I'm like, I don't want to say anything, because what do I have to gain out of saying anything? And telling someone that they tend to be a little unreliable. We've been trying to meet for the last 6 weeks, and every week you cancel last minute. So there's a Steam sale today. Couch Co-op Steam Fest is today. Let's have a look. All right, you know what? I should end this podcast. The last thing, with this AI stuff. So the first thing being optimistic. You're either going to be optimistic and excited about it, or you're not going to learn it. And I wouldn't take that bet. I wouldn't take the bet of not learning it. I don't want to take that bet, right? It's just not a bet I'm willing to take. The second thing is just being a fucking reliable person to work with. And honestly, mixed in with that, being reliable, being consistent, and to be honest, being a pleasant person to work with. Like, I think sometimes if you're not relatively easy to work with, people just won't want to. Like, it's the same, if right now I was just shouting at everybody all the time at AJ and Smart and bitching at everybody, well then no one would ever want to actually do stuff for me. And in the same way around, if an employee is irritated all the time and complaining all the time, that's the problem with all of these things. No one says anything, right? It's not like I go to that person and say, hey, come on, this is like, I really don't. No, I'm like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to have, them. I know that they'll go talking about how I'm an asshole if I say anything. And so even though all this radical candor stuff I'm sure is great, I don't have the fucking energy to do that shit. I'm just like, I'm just going to not say anything. To be really very, very clear, this is not a situation happening at AJ and Smart right now. Like, this is actually hype. In the past, yes. Not anymore. Not for a very long time. Everyone who works at AJ and Smart right now, I genuinely enjoy their company. Anyone who's worked at AJ and Smart in the last fucking decade, I've genuinely enjoyed their company, and everyone else is also great. We just, we're all figuring our shit out. Yeah. Okay. I'm. What is the point of me recording this much? No one listens to this point. So I'm gonna finish out the episode here. Thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna go climbing now. Actually, I'll check what co-op games are being on sale on Steam. I think I'm going to set up like PC gaming setup behind me. I have a gaming PC. It's just I need to actually set it up. There's a couple of Amber at AJ and Smart always has so many recommendations, but a lot of them are on PC. Got to get into it. Really looking forward to seeing you guys at Area X. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for... I enjoy doing this. So, I don't know what you guys get out of it, but I appreciate it. Come on, guys. Let's stand up for this one. Come on.